robotic submersibles. Debris from the wreck lies at depths of up to 500 feet, too deep for scuba divers. So the project is using a device called Exosuit. The 500-pound metallic suit is like a high-tech version of the rigid diving suits of decades past. It can support a diver for up to 2 days at normal atmospheric pressure, so there's no need for decompression. It has maneuvering thrusters, a high-def video camera, and fixtures for grabbing objects. So the diver inside the suit becomes a sort of aquatic Iron Man, exploring an ancient shipwreck. For the University of Texas Marine Science Institute, I'm Holly Brawley.
Wet n Wild Palm Springs is the one where you get big water park fun. Barefootin' in the sun, barefootin', flow rider barefootin', Wet n Wild barefootin'. Bring your friends and stay all day. Wet n Wild is your place to play barefootin'.
Yeah, you gotta get barefootin' this summer at Wet n Wild. Dive into all the thrills, all the action, all the fun. Take on awesome slides and rides. There's big fun for kids and much more. This summer, we have extended hours, dive-in movies every Friday, and everyone gets free tubes. Plus, save $7 on admission when you buy online or grab discount coupons at area Jack in the Box restaurants. For your best summer ever, it's Wet n Wild.
Slipping, sliding, barefootin', getting soaked barefootin', Wet n Wild barefootin',
Wet n Wild.
Barefootin', Wet n Wild barefootin'.
Wet n Wild. Park open daily.
It's time for some Dillylicious food at Pizza Dilly. Pizza Dilly Pizza in Colton, home of the famous 2-foot pizza with 32 slices of simply the best Dillylicious Pizza Dilly mouth-watering pizza. Pizza Dilly has all kinds of lunch specials Monday through Friday, starting at $3.99, all Dillylicious. Stop by, refresh, refuel, have a cold drink, enjoy a tasty salad or a great specialty Dillylicious sub sandwich, or simply Dilly-lightful Pizza Dilly wings. Pizza Dilly is also People Dilly because your friends are all already there enjoying one of Pizza Dilly's giant screens, watching one of their favorite teams, and if you love the Dodgers, you'll love Pizza Dilly, your hometown Dodger station, all year round. Come on in, enjoy a great pizza, enjoy Pizza Dilly, the real Dilly deal at 194 East Valley Boulevard in Colton, or call 909-370-0242. Once again, that's 909-370-0242.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family-owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog, or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
Are you tired? Are you tired of being tired? Do you hate your job? Do you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and want to jump off into balanced living? Then tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. for Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. It's a show about hope and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So there's no CNN, constantly negative news, no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kardashian talk. Instead, you will hear callers ask Dr. Marissa, also known as the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura, for advice about love, hate, money, jobs, sex, and what to do next. So join me every Thursday at 7 for Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa on KCAA AM 1050 NBC News Radio. This is Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah, signing off until then. Peace in and peace out.
The other station claims to be local. Since when is Glendale local? KCAA News Talk 1050, your true local station.
Hey!
just stopped in here?
They turned it off because you're wasting water.
What? What are you talking about?
You know.
Because you know it's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought. Yeah, it's pretty clear, we're really short on blue. It's time to save it, like we're supposed to do. Some say it's doom, gloom, and all our grass must go. But together we can make it and enjoy our golden state. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, drought.
From the mountains to the desert to the sea, welcome Southern California to the Water Zone Show. I'm one of the hosts, Rob Starr, along with... Well, this is going to be a long one, Michael.
Oh, no.
The idolized, imaginative, invaluable, inspiring instructor of irrigation technologies to the irrigation industry and beyond, or whom I commonly refer to as the walking hydrological encyclopedia man, Mike Barron.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate that
I used a lot of eyes.
introduction.
I used a lot of eyes. It was hard.
I think you're going right through the alphabet, you know. But no, I appreciate that. Well, listen, did you... hear the good news? I don't know if we got some news to report or not, but
yes, we do. Well, go ahead. We don't need the intro for that.
Oh, but you know, if you think about it, aha! There we go. All right.
Today in America, this is what happened. Michael, take it away.
Yes, sir. Well, the information that was just released today, and the state of California once again rose to the challenge, saving a whopping 31.3% of urban water, lowering that GPCD. You know that you know what that stands for, don't you?
Yes.
The gallons per day or gallons per capita per day below 100 for the first time in a summer month. I mean, that's huge.
Absolutely.
In 19, that's too long ago. 2005, do you know what the GPCD was for the state of California? 192.
Wow.
And in July, as we know because we talked about it recently, and that is the Smart Irrigation Month from the Irrigation Association, recognizes that July is the month in which the United States consumes the most potable water because it's also the hottest. Now, you know what makes this even more amazing? Climate scientists say without a doubt that 2015, the first 7 months of this year, are the hottest on record since 1880. And in spite of that, the record temperatures, the state still exceeded the governor's goal of 25%. So, you know, there is a lot of high efficiency irrigation going out there, but there's also a lot of very excellent initiatives by water agencies throughout the state of California encouraging people to save water.
Well, San Diego, just so I'm sure you know, saved 29% since July. In July, San Jose 38% less than they did, and Fresno 31%.
That's fantastic. I gotta do a shout out to my hometown, Glendora, and they were down. Let me see. Take off my glasses. 38.3% in the month of July. City of Riverside, the city in which Toro's headquarters works and where we're at, down 30.7%. So
I think we saved the most water at our facility.
You mean at your home because you go out to dinner and take your bath towels and take showers at other people's homes? That's what you're telling me?
Yeah.
I know your tricks. Oh, man. But, hey, also, we had a guest here, the general manager from LADWP, a few weeks ago. A shout-out to them. They exceeded their targeted goal, and they saved 21.1%. Yep. And that was up from 15.5% savings in June. So there's a lot of good things happening.
Well, the only thing I did hear is that if you take the 10% of what we use for outside the watering, it comes out to another 3% that we've lowered. But take a look at again, I've heard that the alfalfa portions and the almonds, they're increasing their production, they're increasing the use of water, they're increasing their shipments and making good money, but they're continuing to use even more water than they did before.
Yeah, I wonder, this will be an interesting question that we can ask those water agencies that service the agricultural community, which in 2 weeks...
They're going to be here.
They're going to be here. And that is, have they ever thought about tiered rates for agriculture?
It's a good thought.
So you could create a water budget and see how efficient. So who knows? Maybe we have created a new idea that can be embraced. But
do we get a piece of that?
Only in the sense that we can continue to have a reliable water supply. So that's our reward.
Buy that.
That's our reward.
I'll buy that.
Well, we have a very interesting guest this evening.
You have two guests.
But
the first one hails all the way from San Antonio, Texas.
And you might say, well, why? This is California. The drought's in California. Why are we talking to someone from San Antonio? So, Rob, why are we talking to someone from San Antonio?
Well, they had a drought, and they've overcome that with things that they put in place to enhance water conservation, and I think it's important. What's really, really funny, there's a saying, when a rush of water runs down the street in San Antonio, someone at San Antonio Water Systems is going to receive a call or three. And just a quote that I read in a magazine, the lady that we're bringing on, Ms. Karen Guz, she's Director of Water Conservation at San Antonio Water Systems. She says, while in some of the cities the sight of wasted water wouldn't turn a head, in San Antonio it not only attracts attention from tattling neighbors, it also can elicit anger from those who've been doing their part to save. If they see water running down the street, they get upset, she says. That's a great starting point. So with that, welcome Ms. Guz to the show.
Hi.
How you been?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great. We're just been involved in trying to reduce our water footprint out here in California, as you, I think, probably well know about our drought.
I do, and congratulations on the good news in the water use in July. That's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. I think the state of California, the State Water Resources Control Board, has done a pretty good job of developing a metric that they get all of the 411 agencies to report on, and everybody's starting to pay attention and go to the website, and it's kind of become a challenge for a lot of us, to say, hey, let's make sure we continue to do our part, even though there's rumors of or reports of El Nino coming, which we would be very, very thankful for. But we got to continue to save, because even if El Nino comes, we know there's a drought in our near future. So that's why I'm excited that you're joined us, because, I guess to start off with, Karen, maybe you can share with us kind of how long you've been at SAWS and kind of what responsibilities you've had there that would be involved with water conservation.
Well, I was hired into the conservation department nearly 15 years ago, and I've been the director for almost 10 years now. Of just a fabulous team of people who I always say do all the real work. How it always goes, isn't it? And in that time, we've had quite a few droughts in San Antonio.
Interesting. And in terms of dealing with those droughts, do you have you learned some lessons? Has the Department of Water Conservation learned some key lessons as it navigated through those droughts?
Well, it sounds like California is learning a lot of the same lessons that maybe we did as well. And one of those is that people surprise you. They're able to save water better than you think once you get their attention. It's not easy to get the attention of. We serve 1.7 million people out of San Antonio water system. And when we first go into drought, it's not always easy to get everybody's attention to get them to change their habits. And we hadn't experienced a multiple-year drought until the one that started in 2011. We'd always had a drought that would end. In Texas, we have this expression about that our weather is drought punctuated by flood. And it does seem to be the case. But we experienced a drought that went on from 2011 until we got floods this spring. And in that time period, what really surprised me and pleased me was that once we got past that first year where we had a little bit of difficulty getting everybody on board, our per capita use kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And people figured out that once a week spray irrigation regulation was not so bad. And we didn't look drought-stricken because they got good at managing their landscapes, and they put in more efficient irrigation methods. And it accelerated people moving on to more sustainable ways of managing their landscape. So all of those are some good outcomes that came out of a situation that was very difficult for a lot of people in the state.
Well, just for the listening audience, if they want to call in and ask questions, the area code, if you're in 909, please call in 888-5222. If you're outside the 909 area, please call 888-909-1050 if you have some questions to ask of Karen. And Karen, when you went through all this drought thing, what metrics did you guys use to measure the drought management success? And I know you've had several programs with HOAs and other things, and kind of explain that a little to us.
Well, one of the ways I try to explain this is that we look at things from the top down, long-term trends, and things like total per capita, gallons per capita per day trends. And then we also look at what I call bottom up, where we look at individual customers and individual neighborhoods and daily pumping data. So on the top-down approach, our per capita dropped from the start of drought. Our total per capita, all the water we use for all purposes, divided by our population, dropped from being in 2011 to being in the 140s to 121 last year. So it's a pretty significant reduction, most of it made from discretionary use changes in that time period. From a bottoms-up approach, we look at things like, well, much as we don't like giving citations, if a police officer working with us issues a citation, what happens? Well, not surprising. If a person gets a citation, they usually use several thousand gallons less afterwards. But interestingly, when we add up all the people who got citations and the average savings from that, it doesn't add up to the total pumping reduction that we see. If we compare a hot-dry period to a hot-dry period when we weren't in restrictions and ask the question, how do the two compare, there's a huge difference in just millions of gallons of water we're pumping. And so the answer seems to be that the vast majority of people follow the rules and don't get tickets. And then the few that do, usually one ticket gets their attention, and they change their behavior afterwards and reduce their water use. So we have a lot of different things we look at, from that minutia of individual customers to millions of gallons of water pumped per day to the big picture of gallons per capita trends over time.
How did you educate the public on what you needed to accomplish?
Well, the media was our friend on this one because in 2011, much like with the California drought, it was so bad here in Texas and so dry that it was a huge news story at the onset. And so we capitalized on that and worked with the radio stations and the TV stations and the newspapers. And then on top of that, we worked with homeowners associations, with our, we relied very heavily on our green industry relationships, our professional irrigators and our landscapers, who've been wonderful in helping to educate their customers as well. So it was really a multiple front effort. And I think one of the keys was also having, at the same time that we were pushing a regulatory reality of saying, we're so sorry we're in this drought, and we need for you to follow this rule, and this is your assigned day, and you can't use spray irrigation on any day other than that. And if you get caught, you're going to get a ticket. But at the same time, we were saying, and by the way, if you're converting to drip irrigation, here's a rebate. If you feel like you'd like to diversify your landscape, here's a coupon to help you get the materials to have a little less grass where you're struggling with it. So there were very positive things we could offer to people who didn't like maybe how their landscape looked under the rules or were worried about the consequences to their landscape over time.
I don't know if you probably were aware about the fairly significant investment that Metropolitan Water District, the Southern California Water Wholesaler,
Yeah.
made in terms of turf removal rebates. Has the San Antonio, as SAWS, ever pursued that kind of rebate program?
Well, everybody's market is different. We have wanted people to, we would like to refer to it as diversification of
I like that.
away from being totally grass dominated.
Yep.
We're not anti-grass. We would like to educate people to understand what grass they keep. A lot of it here in Texas is dormancy capable. And if we can educate them that it can be brown and it'll be okay, if it's one of these dormancy capable varieties that has been required in our in all new construction since 2007. So it's a holistic message. But one of our programs has been kind of 200 square feet at a time in this coupon program, and we offer it seasonally. And this last spring, we issued 9,500 coupons in a couple months. Wow. Each one for money to go to a locally owned nursery, redeem it for supplies, plants, or patio scape materials to replace 200 square feet of grass.
Interesting.
And I will tell you, it shocked us, the excitement over that program. We started it in the middle of drought, thinking, it's hot, a few people will do this. Thousands wanted it.
And was that communicated, Karen, through direct mail in the water bills that were sent out, or was it communicated through radio or TV advertising?
Well, the first one we put out, we let the media know, and it was a good story. It was 2012. It was summer. It was hot, dry. We're still in drought. And so it was covered on the media. So that was helpful. It was on free media, where we just worked with the local media. And it was in the bill insert, which is mixed and getting people's attention. And that first round, that the timing was not good. We weren't able to push it out until it was hot and in the middle of summer, and not the best time to do landscaping. And yet a couple thousand people engaged with that program very successfully. Yes. So we were thrilled by that, and what it showed us is that it touched on something that people were interested in, and part of what we were doing with the way the coupon was crafted was giving people who aren't gardeners, don't feel that they're experts in Texas gardening, very clear, easy-to-follow instructions to tackle one piece of their landscape at a time.
So rather than try to do
very well to that.
Try to do the whole front yard or the whole backyard, say, hey.
If they were ambitious, you could apply for a couple coupons at a time and do a big chunk of it. But a lot of people figured out that, okay, so maybe if I'm going to be a do-it-yourselfer, maybe I want to do this area and get that established and take care of that, and then move on to my next area. We also worked very hard. We developed a whole new website, Garden Style SA, that's entirely focused on regionally appropriate landscaping. Every place is different, and Texas is unique, and we have a great palette of plants, but a lot of our people here in San Antonio didn't grow up here. I didn't. And when I moved here, I didn't know what any of the plants were. Yeah. So a lot of what we spend our time and energy on is teaching people about what all of their wonderful options are. And I imagine that's happening in California, because you, I would think, have a bit of the same challenges. A lot of people came to California from different places.
Right.
Absolutely. And we've got 38 million people.
And you've got a lot of
thirsty people. Hey, we understand San Antonio has one of the largest direct recycling water systems in the country?
We do. That's something that's been in the works in San Antonio since the 1990s, early 1990s, and in the planning before that. When I started at SAWS 15 years ago, it was in its infancy, our purple pipe distribution system, and we were just starting to sign people on to get the recycled water treated effluent instead of potable for landscapes and for cooling towers and other large uses. And people said to me, give it time and they'll be fighting over this. Well, we're kind of there in Texas, where we're almost sold out on how much of the effluent that we can logically sell during the peak of summer. We can fit a few more customers in there, but that's been very helpful. We don't deliver it to neighborhoods to put on individual yards. For us, it's been most successful to deliver it to very large customers, golf courses, big business campuses, industrial customers that have a process that can use that product instead of potable. And our energy company uses it for their energy, a lot of their energy production processes as well. They're actually our largest customer of the effluent.
Yeah, here in California, some of the water agencies are allowing customers, even homeowners, to come up and take the non-potable water home, but how much can you carry? Unless somebody drives up in a big tanker truck.
It's kind of heavy. It's heavy and it's hard to transport.
Hey, that's what we can do, Mike. We can open a water tanker truck company.
There we go.
Well, that was actually quite a business in 2011.
Really?
When it was so dry here, and people in the hill country north of San Antonio, I did talk about that during the drought. I talked about that we didn't have a real crisis in San Antonio. Even in 2011, when the weather was its worst during the years since, we had crispier lawns than some people wanted, and we had to follow rules, and we had to adjust. But the real crisis of the drought was in more rural areas and areas where there were wildfires that were very challenging for farmers who had no other alternatives but the water that they didn't have anymore, or small towns that had more isolated water supply and not a lot of backup.
Yeah,
in contrast, our problems in a big municipal area really were just inconveniences.
Yeah. Well, we've had the same thing in California where several rural communities, their wells have just gone dry because of the aquifer dropping, and people just have no water at the tap. So, the state of California is responding to that and providing water to them. But
yeah.
I guess my last question, just because I'm curious, here in California, tiered rates have been advanced as a way to send that conservation message to end users. Does SAWS use any type of tiered rates?
We have, since SAWS was formed. We've always had tiered rates. We do an enormous amount of work, though, with making sure that we can justify the rates in terms of a cost of service model. So, in other words, if we're going to say to you, you use a lot of discretionary water at your home, and so after you get over, say, 17,000 gallons, it's going to hit this much higher price. We have to be able to show mathematically that it really is more expensive to deliver that peak water to you, and we can show that.
Yeah, that way you can avoid that little embarrassment that San Juan Capistrano.
Of someone saying your rates are just punitive.
So
we're always able to have that conversation with people to explain our rates are fully backed by a cost of service model, and each class of customer pays for itself and is calculated for a cost of service separately. So business has its own rate structure and homeowners their own, but that helps reinforce in all the messages that the rates are consistent with everything else being taught.
I know I could ask another half hour worth of questions, but we've got to cut to a break now.
Absolutely.
But I just want to say thank you so much for taking time. I know it's 2 hours later where you are, and we sure appreciate you sharing this knowledge and experience with our California listeners.
Are you going to the Southern Nevada Water Symposium?
I'm not, no. I'm not going to make it out there, but I'm sure it's going to be great. They do wonderful programs.
Yes,
there.
they do. Yeah. All right, well, Karen, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate that, and hope to hear you back again in a couple of weeks maybe. And
whenever you're available.
Yep. So anyway, we'll go to a break. Have a good one. Thank you, and we'll be right back with Mike and Rob on The Water Zone. Stay tuned.
Were you involved in an auto accident? Do you know where to go for repairs? Are you tired of getting ripped off by high prices and inferior work? Then visit us at Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, located in Riverside at 6411 Industrial Avenue, Suite A. We have an award-winning team of specialists with more than 40 years of auto body work experience. We were also voted #1 in the Inland Empire by MyFox LA. We work with all major insurance companies and use state-of-the-art equipment to get your car back on the road. We work on all makes and models of cars, including RVs. Our auto paint specialist will make sure the job is done right. At Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, your satisfaction isn't just a goal, it's what drives us. We focus on your needs. Call us for a free estimate at 951-637-1365. That's 951-637-1365. Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family-owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog, or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
Freeway Auto Center is your road to home. Now open and ready to send you home in a much better car than you're driving now. Freeway Auto Center has a special phone number for KCAA listeners. Get ready, get a pen. Here's the number you need. Right now, in the 909 area code, call 269-8731. Got it? 269-8731. That's the number you need for Freeway Auto Center. Just call 909-269-8731 and ask for the road to home. You may need to unload a car that costs more to fix than you paid for it. Maybe you need a dependable car for your kids to go to college. Maybe it's just time. Freeway Auto Center on Waterman, north of the 10, has the selection you're looking for. Freeway Auto Center will get you there. Call 909-269-8731. That's 269-8731. That's your number for Freeway Auto Center.
Hi, welcome back to the Water Zone with Mike and Rob, and we have a next guest that I happened to catch up with the other day. It's a gentleman named Eric Garner. He's an attorney with a firm called Best & Krieger, and they're a law firm who specializes in lots of things, but one of the things they're well known for, at least here in California and in Washington, D.C., is water rights. So we'll go ahead and play the interview we did with Eric the other day. Well, welcome back to the Water Zone Show with Mike and Rob, and I want to introduce our next guest who I ran into the other day and had the opportunity of speaking with him. He's attorney Eric Garner, and he's the managing partner for Best & Krieger, a very prestigious law firm in California and also out of state. A little background about him: for the past 2 decades, he has worked extensively on groundwater matters. He was involved in the Mojave groundwater adjudication and represented the lead parties in Santa Maria and Antelope Valley groundwater adjudications. He advised clients throughout California on groundwater issues and was involved in the drafting of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. He has worked on surface water issues throughout the state and has drafted water laws in South Africa, Trinidad, and Pakistan. And Eric has also co-authored California Water and California Water II, and is an adjunct professor at the University of Southern California Gould School of Law. He's also been named California Lawyer of the Year by California Magazine, one of the top 100 lawyers in California by Daily Journal, and the Water Law Lawyer of the Year in Los Angeles. So welcome to the show, Eric. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, Rob. Thank you very much for having me.
Good. We appreciate this. In today's environment, at least in California, we start seeing a lot of litigation. I guess California, and supposedly the U.S. is also completely a litigious entity in itself. There's law suits being generated almost every single day. There's one that's happening filed by the Environmental Law Foundation with California Rural Legal Assistance about they're suing the Central Coast Regional Water Quality System Board policy of keeping groundwater pollution data secret, which I thought was kind of strange. There's also a group of water districts suing California regulators over the state's order for prohibiting holders of some of the oldest water rights from pumping water out of the rivers and streams. So I guess the main question I have is, do we need dramatic water law reform?
Well, that's a big question. A couple thoughts on that, Rob. I think, first of all, in terms of the litigation, there is really a lot more cooperation than litigation in the water world. But the litigation and the phrase water wars, I think, tends to make a better headline. So a lot of times it's the litigation that gets the attention.
Always. The bad news comes first.
Yeah, the bad news comes first. That's right. I don't think we need dramatic water law reform in California. I think there's always a temptation during a crisis, a serious drought like the one we're in, to make dramatic changes. But water, is our most precious resource. For better and for worse, the water law system we have here in California and the water rights system has evolved over a long period of time. And it's perhaps not the way we would draw it up if we were starting from scratch. But by the same token, and we need to respect existing rights. And so I would characterize the changes we could use as modifications and clarifications of the existing law, but not dramatic reform.
Okay. So what do you see from the legal side? I know you guys are involved in lots of different things that maybe you can or can't talk about, but what do you see as maybe the top two water issues in the state?
Well, I think there's several. Just continuing on the water law reform for a moment, I think that there will be a lot of emphasis going forward on recycled water and on stormwater capture, and I think the law in those areas is perhaps not as clear as it could be. So I think those would be beneficial to have some clarifications and some tweaking in that area. And I think one thing you've heard a lot about in the last year or so, if you've been following water issues in California, and probably almost anywhere, is transfers of water, moving water from one use and one geography to another. California's law could benefit from some amendment and some clarification on that point.
I also read that some water is being diverted into Arizona for use of cotton growers. And I don't know if you know anything about that or heard anything about that. And a lot of people are upset about that, saying, why is the water going somewhere else when it should come to California? And I guess it's the old thing where, you fight over whiskey, but water is more valuable, and people rather fight about that than anything else, especially these days.
I'm not sure I'm aware of the specific situation you're talking about. I mean, Arizona does have rights to Colorado River water, as does California, and as do there are a total of 7 states in the West that have rights that they divided up about 90 years ago to the Colorado, and I think some of that water certainly goes to growing cotton there. And I think that's the kind of thing that, people get upset about, whether it's, this crop shouldn't be being grown, or why is Nestle pumping water out of the ground, and they'll focus on one issue like that when really, we can't sort of have a knee-jerk reaction in the moment of crisis to those sorts of things. Those things have evolved over a long period of time. And again, there can be modifications, there can be changes, but they can't happen overnight.
Right. I know, you're coming earlier about that the bad headlines are the ones that get the attention. That's true. People are arguing about, the growers up north with the nuts that are being sold mostly overseas, and why are they using so much water? And everybody, even if we cut back all the water from landscape turf, you're talking less than 5%. 10%, is that really going to make a difference when a lot of water is going to other places? And, if you stop that, then you stop businesses from making money. And, it just goes on and on. People, as you said, are looking to grab the biggest headline and just argue about that all the time. And that's what we see every single day. And I obviously don't know how to solve the water issue. I know, they talk about this big El Nino that's coming, and yet I think down here in Southern California, we don't have enough holes in the ground to collect all this water. Where's it going to go? It's going to get washed out to the ocean and cause damage. We need a different kind of infrastructure to doing. I know we're building lots of different things, like the high-speed train, so it'd be called. I talked to some legislators about that. Is that the right move to do when we got a water shortage, and what are we going to do about the future? Everybody says we don't have enough water. We can't, you can't judge the quantity of water you have in groundwater versus above ground, and it goes back and forth all day long. So how can California move towards solving any of these water issues?
Well, I think it's not going to be one big project. There's not a silver bullet to solve the problems. El Nino, any significant rainfall is going to help, but you put your finger on the problem, especially if most of that falls first as rain and second in Southern California, because our current water supply system is designed for substantial snow falling in Northern California. And the way it's designed to work, and the way it's worked very well, is snow falls on the Sierra Nevadas in Northern California. It's effectively stored there as snow until it gradually melts, starting in April, or whenever, and going through the summer. Given the hotter and drier conditions that we're seeing, that's not working very well right now. And a heavy El Nino as rain will mean all that water comes down in a big hurry. We don't have enough places to put it, exactly as you said. And if it falls in Southern California, we really don't have enough places to put it. And so when it comes to solving the problem, it really means reconfiguring our water supply system to some degree. We still need the large projects that we have. We still need the Central Valley Project and the State Water Project to function efficiently, but they're going to need to be, if the rainfall pattern continues and it falls more towards the south and more rain, less snow, we're going to need smaller projects that can capture things. So really the way to solve this is a combination of stormwater capture, conservation and sensitivity to water use, recycled water, some desalination, some water transfers. All those things put together can solve our water problem, but there is not just one simple answer, unfortunately. Right.
A lot of cities, for example, like Riverside, is suing the state, and they're claiming they have tons of water to sustain them for years. We had a guest on, Scott Slater. I don't know if you're familiar with. He's the CEO of Cadiz.
I know Scott well.
And several other people telling us they have lots of water. And so when our listeners hear that, they say, well, then why is there considering a drought when there's tons of water underneath, millions of acre feet underneath the ground? Why do we have to do more and more and more when it exists there? Is it this, just like the Riverside case? They're suing the state, claiming that the new restrictions unfairly affect the community, and under the new regulations, Riverside can face fines up to $10,000 a day. And I know lawyers for the city say that Riverside should qualify under the reserve tier, which requires only a 4% cut in water use versus the groundwater versus what they have above water. How do you see that in a lot of these cities going forward with these kind of lawsuits?
I'm only aware of Riverside as a party that's sued on that particular issue, but there certainly have been other lawsuits by senior pre-1914 water rights holders, for instance. In other words, parties that got water rights before the state started regulating surface water. They brought lawsuits against the state saying that the state cannot regulate their water rights. And then there's Riverside's lawsuit saying that the state put them in the wrong tier. As I said before, there is more cooperation than litigation in water, but that doesn't mean there isn't a lot of litigation. And I think some of these are just issues that have not been sorted out before and probably do need to be sorted out. I think, I know the city of Riverside is, implementing steps to conserve water. I think, most cities in the state have hit the targets the governor set, which was, I think at the time the governor was setting them a few months ago, many people thought there's no way California is going to do this, and yet California has done it, which I think just points up that it's kind of remarkable what people can actually pull together and do when they're asked to do something. I think, though, when you talk about Riverside saying it has plenty of water or the Cadiz project having plenty of water, and those are local situations, and, water is like any other form of property, location. And there are certainly places in California that have water and have good water resources, and there are other places that are really struggling and are going to continue to struggle. And I think the one other aspect of this, just in terms of the groundwater issue, is really the reason that we haven't felt the drought even more severely, and certainly some places have felt the drought very severely. I don't mean to minimize that, but the reason that a broader swath of the state hasn't felt it more severely is because an awful lot of places are pumping an awful lot of groundwater right now, and pumping more than is sustainable. Yes, there's a lot in storage, but that's sort of like saying, yeah, I got a lot of money in my savings account. I'm not making enough to cover my expenses right now, so I'm spending my savings. There's only so long that can go on.
Right. I don't think the water expenses or the charging to the public is going to get lowered anymore, because water agencies make their money selling water. When they sell less, they still have the basic operations to deal with every single day, and the salaries and such, the maintenance. So that's never going to go away. But if there's one thing, in your opinion, that you think could change immediately, what do you think that would be, or what could be changed?
You know, honestly, and this may sound like a funny response. I mean, of course, I guess one response would be, geez, it would be great if it snowed an awful lot up in the mountains right away. But if there was one thing in terms of the law or something related to that I would change, it actually wouldn't be the law, it would be data. Because we really, I think surprisingly to most people, for what's our most precious resource, have very little knowledge about who is using how much water. Cities, of course, typically meter their production and typically meter their deliveries to their customers, although not every city in California does. But when it comes to pumping groundwater, there is very little monitoring at this point on that, and even surface water diversions, there isn't good data, and you really can't manage and conserve what you're not measuring. So if I was going to change one thing immediately, it would be to have much better data right away as to who is using what water.
Right. I know Mike and I work a lot with different water agencies throughout the United States, as well, obviously, through California. And and I think they've done I got to give it kudos. They've done an excellent job in educating the public about water and how to manage it more properly. And it's like Mike uses this term a lot. When you go to the gas station and you put gas in your car, you're pumping the gas. You got the meter right there, and you're watching it go, and you know it's $1, $3, $10, $20, whatever it comes out to be. You get that immediate feedback of how much you're paying for it. Unlike a water bill, when you get the water bill, it could be 30 or 60 days later that you see the bill, and you didn't realize, wow, I didn't realize I used that much. And I think the efforts that they put forth with the education, with the PSAs and things of that sort, has really helped. And like you said, it's remarkable how the majority of the water agencies and the people of California have reduced their water usage and and even exceeded some of the requirements that Governor Brown put out. And with a little bit of smartness and education and cooperation, I think we can help at least accommodate this drought for the time being. It's a life cycle. We got to live through it. Australia did it for 12 years or more. San Antonio did it for 4 to 5 years. So it's just part of nature. This is what we gotta think. Any more ending comments or anything that you may want to tell our listening audience?
I think I would just agree with what you just said, is that other places, Australia is a good example of a country that suffered through a severe drought, and Texas and San Antonio went through their drought. There are other places that have done this, and I think, challenging as it is, we're very fortunate to be able to do it here, I guess, in the sense that, as you mentioned in my intro, I've worked in some other countries on water law issues, and the technical resources we have here, frankly, the financial resources we're able to bring to bear on this. It's a very challenging problem, and we should all be concerned and focused on it, but it is also a very solvable problem, and I ultimately think California will solve it and will continue to prosper.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining with me today, and hope I get to see you in the next couple of weeks at this law seminar downtown in October. And again, thank you very much for being our guest.
Okay, thank you very much, Rob. It's my pleasure.
Hey. We're back live.
Yes. So, Mike, I guess one of the things, and for people calling me, because this is going to be really important, so anybody in the 909 area code, 888-5222. If you're outside that area code, long distance, it's 888-909-1050. And the question that I go to the big box stores to buy certain things, not irrigation equipment, but I go there to buy other things. And I see people coming into the store, and they need to replace their nozzles that either themselves or their landscape guy mowed over their things, and they got to buy new nozzles. And everybody I see in those stores, they just think a nozzle is a nozzle is a nozzle. And that's not true. Why don't you elaborate and tell people really the difference in nozzles and what the specialties are?
Well, there's a lot. It's simple, and it's also a bit complex, but let me keep it straightforward. In general, whatever brand of nozzle you are replacing, replace it with the same brand, because that's going to give you a higher probability that there's a complementary effect amongst the nozzles. So you've got to look at each nozzle. There's a number typically on the nozzle, and there's a letter. So a 15H, what do you think that would indicate?
Oh, it's a half.
Yeah, H for half, and 15 is the radius, how far it throws at 30 psi. Most, if not all, spray nozzles are designed to work ideally at 30 psi. So if you say, I used to have, let's see, what's the distance between this sprinkler that's damaged and this next one, the one that's adjacent to it? Is that 8 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet? Because if that nozzle is damaged, then of course you can't look at it and see what the number is, right? So then look at the distance between the adjacent sprinklers, because you want to maintain what we call head-to-head coverage, or one sprinkler is just shooting the spray pattern to the...
Just overlapping.
Overlap it, right. So we call it 100% overlapping. Every sprinkler should be throwing water right at the base of the adjacent sprinkler, every adjacent sprinkler.
And the point that you made was very valid about the pressure. I'll say this, most homeowners have no clue to what their pressure is.
Yeah, and we, as an industry, have not given them a easy way to measure that pressure. You can buy a pressure gauge, but it's designed to screw onto your hose bib, and it says 80 psi. And some people that have 80 psi will look at their heads and they go, they're barely throwing any water. So that is going to be a bit of a challenge. But let me just say this. There are such things as pressure compensating nozzles. And by using pressure compensating nozzles and on the valve that the homeowner has, there should be a cross handle on that valve. That's what we call the flow control stem. And you can turn that halfway down to try and reduce the pressure somewhat. In combination, the pressure compensating nozzle with turning down the flow control stem is going to be your lowest cost, most effective way to get that ideal performance at 30 psi. Now, most customers, most homeowners do not have pressure compensating nozzles today. So if you really want to make a dent in reducing your wasted water, the first thing I would recommend is you turn on that zone and you look for heads that are below grade, that are sunk down.
Or tilted.
Or tilted. Or look, sometimes if you've had your spray head system for 10 years or more than likely you're going to see some leaking around the pop-up stem. That's wasted water. And so your best bet is to decide on a sprinkler workout. Get your shovel out, dig around that head, just dig a big hole around that head and see what's there. Use fittings to bring that head up to snuff. And now while you've got that hole in there, why not just go ahead and put a brand new spray head? If you really want to make a difference, you put in a new spray head, you put in that pressure compensating nozzle, and you use one of the high efficiency nozzles that are available from the different manufacturers.
Now, you mentioned yards that could be 15, 20 years old or older. So yeah, they start off at grade. Hopefully they were put in correctly, but over time they subside, they go lower, and then you start getting dirt, because if you don't have the pressure compensating things, you get a suck back and you start getting dirt clogs and things, and that affects the spray area.
Yep.
And when you talk about high efficiency nozzles, people don't understand about what that really means, and what should they look for, because they have no clue.
Yeah.
And most of the stores, like I said, the big box stores, those people don't know.
And really what determines or defines a high efficiency nozzle are two things. how fast they apply water, the application rate.
Which is precipitation rate.
Yeah, precipitation rate. Usually I like to say precipitation is what nature delivers, application is what the sprinkler delivers. But you're right. With respect to sprinkler nozzles, it's synonymous. Application rate, precipitation rate. If we can slow down the speed at which the water is laid down on the turf or the landscape, less runoff, which we know today in the drought emergency regulations, that's illegal. We do not want any runoff to go into the street and into the gutter. The other thing that defines a high-efficiency nozzle is what we call uniformity. It's nothing less than how evenly is the water spread over the pattern. The easiest thing to do is to go to SoCalWatersmart.com. This is a website that has a list of all the high-efficiency nozzles that are rebated in Southern California. But even if you're not in the Metropolitan Water District service area, you can use that list to guide you.
You can also go to freesprinklernozzles.com,
Yes.
which goes throughout California, and that's where you get a $100 rebate, you get a voucher for $100 worth of the nozzles, and they tell you even where to go and retrieve them.
Absolutely. So it just is that, freesprinklernozzles.com. And the nice thing about that, from our perspective, Rob, is that for residential customers, the Precision Series spray nozzles from Toro is the exclusive nozzle
For fixed sprays.
For fixed sprays for residential customers, and then for commercial customers, if you're maintaining an HOA, you're maintaining a large complex, maybe you have a ranch, an estate in Beverly Hills, then you can go do a commercial application. Then you get into rotating nozzles, rotating stream nozzles.
And where should we should tell the people what's the difference and why they should use one versus the other in different applications.
Well, the sprays are really for that smaller area, 5 to 12 to 15 foot spacing. Personally, I like the rotating nozzle where it's windy and on slopes. That is the ideal. And of course, I'm biased for the Toro Precision Rotating Nozzle.
You should
be.
be.
Which, by the way, you can go to ToroWatersmart.com and you can get all that information. In fact, we've also got kind of tips on how to improve your irrigation efficiency and save water. But it really does, there's a lot to that. But check out that website. There's information there. There's pictures, and they're always adding more information there.
And if anybody needs to call Toro, there's a number to call on the website. And I can honestly tell you, not because I work there, but everybody is friendly. They will answer you. We have a bunch of professionals who can help you do anything you need to know and help you with that. Anyway, we're about out of time for today. It was a great show. Appreciate it. And join us next week. We have some people from UCR, Dr. James Baird, and Joel Adding. He's the president of AG Sod Farms and can talk about turf. And then we have Miss Melinda Weinrich, who's in charge of water conservation for the City of Corona Water District. So
you'll learn about new turf varieties that actually have used 30-40% of the water that normal grass uses.
Absolutely. Anyway, thanks, California, and thanks everybody for listening across the country. We'll see you next week. Bye from Mike and Rob.
On board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Exploring science in the sea. Iron is crucial to your health. It helps carry oxygen through the body, so if you don't have enough, you feel tired and sluggish. But too much iron isn't good either. In some cases, it can lead to diabetes or even heart failure. The same thing applies to much of the microscopic life in the oceans. Iron is a key nutrient, but too much of a good thing can be bad. Overdoses of iron in single-celled organisms more than 2 billion years ago may have slowed the evolution of Earth's atmosphere. These organisms are known as cyanobacteria, and they're still around today. As they convert nutrients and sunlight into usable energy, they release oxygen. Much of it bubbles to the surface and enters the atmosphere. In fact, cyanobacteria were responsible for giving Earth an oxygen-rich atmosphere in the first place. The early atmosphere contained almost no oxygen at all. As cyanobacteria developed and spread, though, they pumped vast amounts of it into the air. There was an especially big uptick about 2.3 billion years ago. A recent study, though, says that large amounts of iron in the water may have slowed things down. Iron-rich water was released from volcanoes on the ocean floor. The iron overloaded many of the microscopic organisms, killing them off, so the atmosphere got its oxygen in waves. When there was just the right amount of iron,